What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Core Conversations for Monday. It is a Freestyle Monday, meaning you can join me on screen. We can talk about it. Check it out in the chat afterwards. We're on Facebook, YouTube, podcast, Core Conversations, everywhere that you do your listen to your podcast, all those providers. So we're all over those things, and we're gonna have an interesting conversation today. Something that's on my mind, something that's happening today. It is Loving Day. And Loving Day is a day commemorating 55 years since there was, what's going on, David and Samuel? 55 years since they recognized interracial marriage as not illegal, and states couldn't impose their own laws. So that was in the US. I'm in Canada. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for relationships? What does that mean for the life that we live today? That's what I want to talk about today. Looks like it's just like one of those kind of by and by, not related to me things, but actually it is pretty impactful. So that's what we're going to talk about. And what else? David, I saw you on Saturday. I was riding by and you were in the bus loop once again. So what's going on? Let me take care of some housekeeping things as always, and then we will get into this conversation. So, the Core Conversations podcast, and the drop this week is it Jamie? No. I think so. I can't remember. Like, subscribe, and share. Nicole, where are you located, just out of curiosity? Just sending a few notes to people here. Hey, Tammy, Manhattan's in the house. Sylvie Pilates, what's going on? So Nicole, I'd love to have you on at some point if you want to join me. I have some really cool guests coming on this week. Kara, what's going on? Happy Loving Day to you, Kara. Why am I hanging out on this topic? There's so many different things that happen in our world, and why am I choosing to hang out on this? This is a topic that I wanted to talk about for a while. And especially wanted to talk about it when we were at the height of a lot of this kind of racial awakening, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, things that were happening in our world, and everyone was getting very reflective on race and those topics. So it was just interesting to have the conversation then, because people were chiming in and talking about race and talking about our skin tone and these things. And then there was this interesting layer and experience that people were going through when they were married to someone who was of a different race. So me being black and my wife being white. And there wasn't very much conversation about how those conversations happened. Oh, yes, it is today. Actually, Kara, if you want to join me on screen, as always, you're welcome. Hi, Shannon. So good to see you. So it's interesting. So there wasn't very much talk about what those conversations look like at home. What was that experience in those homes? Because we have different lived experiences. And the person that you're married to, you love them, respect them. You're trying to see the world through their eyes, and there's points at which you connect and there's points at which you don't connect in terms of identifying with what they're feeling. And those are some of the nuances of being in an interracial marriage. And there was a time in the US, and I'm sure other places in the world as well, when they didn't want this to happen. So check out this post. Today, in 1967, the US, whatever it says, struck down all state laws that were, I can't read all of it. But yes, so basically saying that interracial marriage was only legalized 55 years ago. I have another one here. Okay, Kara, if you want to join me, let me just do one. I can't share screen stuff when you're on, so let me just show this one. So there's a couple. They were actually arrested for being married. Where's the other one? Yeah, these don't. Went to jail for a year for choosing to get married against Virginia state laws. Yeah. I have some reflections on it, but I'll just open up for conversation. Love your walls, by the way.
Yeah, my
Thank
color.
you. And also I love seeing you in civvies in your pictures over the weekend.
It was like the first time in eons that I had a reason to get glammed up, and I felt wearing.
Nice. What was it? What was the occasion?
We had a wedding on Saturday, and
Mm-hmm.
actually racial marriage as well. So
Mm-hmm.
um, on point for. And then I had a bridal shower on Sunday, yesterday.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is interracial marriage even a thing? Do you ever think about that? Like, do you like?
Oh yeah. I think
Do you? Okay. Why do you think about it? Tell me why you think about it.
so. I'm Black biracial. My parents, got married in 1970. My mom's Jamaican. My dad is white, from Oshawa, and it did not go over well. When we started dating, my grandparents didn't meet my mom until their wedding day, actually, and
Wow.
um, my relationship with my grandparents on my dad's side was very much influenced by that history. And not my grandparents, but with my aunts, I actually don't have both of those grandparents have passed, but I don't have a relationship with my father's side of the family. So
Mm.
that that legacy that that's always been part of my personal history.
Yes.
And when I married Rocco, which actually our anniversary is this Thursday, it'll be 15 years.
Amazing.
Day, that also was, I was the first non-Italian person to marry into his large family. So I don't want to say it's a thing, but I was the only person of color at the bridal shower yesterday, and
Yes.
there is a difference in sometimes the histories that we bring, the
Mm-hmm.
stories that we share,
Yep.
how I'm able to engage in some situations with some of those stories because I don't have some of that shared cultural history. So,
Yes.
and I think what I notice as well is the way that Rocco and I are received as a couple in certain scenarios plays out differently because we are interracial, because we're an interracial relationship.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fair. So I mean, I think there's yeah, I'm still thinking it's true because I saw that post this morning and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's me too. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't impact like within the walls of your house, your interactions with one another. But when you go out into different settings, like it does have a different, different feel. I'm gonna read this comment now. I'll say some more about that. Nicole saying, with respect to the Loving case, without the Supreme Court decision, I believe those laws would still be on the books in certain states today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if for no other reason, just because people just wouldn't interrupt it. Like it doesn't impact their life, so they wouldn't push for it, and then others would be pushing back against it. People would want status quo, and the same things we see today with other stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There are settings where Alex, my wife is white. She's from Utah. That was like our code name or dating. It's like I just call her Utah, um, uh, because that's a whole different lived experience. So then there's settings we walk into, and she would feel like, or she'd say, "Well, how do you feel walking to the setting? Like, how do you feel walking to the situation?" Or I would ask her that, just to kind of get that gauge of what's the temperature like. What do you feel walking this room? And like, fine. Or I feel like people might be looking at you because you look good and you're with me and I'm dressed like a scrub right now and you're coming from work. Like we just joke about stuff like that. But like, like I don't know, like there's different settings and there's different feelings back in the day where you feel like, there's another white woman taking one of our men sort of rhetoric, right?
Do you think that's gone though, Martin?
Sorry?
Do you think that rhetoric is gone?
I don't think that I don't know whether it's gone or it's not gone. I mean, it may still be there in some situations. We had a positive situation happen one time, and I've shared it before, where I had Alex and I were together at this event, and then she decided she's going to walk away. She's going to do something else. So we kind of said, kissed and said goodbye, and then she walked up into a store or whatever. And then there's a black lady that was sitting in a car that was just sitting in her car, and she was just like having a coffee, having her moment. And as Alex walked by, she's like, I just saw you kiss your husband or whoever it was over there, and I could see you guys love each other so much. And I was just telling my mom on the phone how it looks so nice and da 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 da. So it's almost like this knocking down that stereotype where you have someone saying, I see you, that's beautiful, keep that up. We need to see more of that. So, what I mean, that's actually been our experience, and our perception is that people are saying otherwise.
I see, is it Nikki or Nicole maybe?
Yes.
Saying
Yes.
he thinks that it's not, and that we may not hear it. And I agree. I'm in a couple Facebook groups for Black communities in Toronto, and I see it come up sometimes in the conversations and in the posts that get made. That I think it's still there. And maybe it's not discussed as openly, but I don't think we've totally knocked down that stereotype or that
Right.
that assumption that of like, there she goes stealing another one of our good men, or there he goes not the Black woman. I think it's still there.
Right. And
Racial Day is a thing for the loving family.
yes.
Yeah. There's a documentary about them. I know there are a number of picture books that I've read with my kids, and I think there might be sort of a bio or a nonfiction book about their
Mm-hmm. You're cutting out a little bit there. I'm missing a few of the words. I'm not sure if that's my reception here too.
Oh, no. Usually my reception is good. Any better?
I think so.
Yeah. I just moved 6 inches.
Okay. Exactly. So the movie's there. Shannon's saying that she saw the movie as well. But yeah, I don't know. So I mean, so if that undercurrent is still there, why do you think it's still there? Like, what is it about?
What do I think it's about? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a weird one for me to comment on, being a product of an interracial marriage and also, then being in one. I think I don't know that I'm the right person to answer that question, because I always sat in this position of being, biracial.
Yes. Yeah.
I think maybe you can speak to it a bit better.
I was thinking about that. I think I could, but then at the same time, I don't think I can because I'm in an interracial relationship, and for my kids, it wouldn't matter to me who they brought home,
Yeah.
right? So, and I've been asked that question: what if they bring home a white girl? What if they bring home someone who's of whatever descent, right? So it's just like, well, what can I say to that? Like, I mean, it is, you know what I mean? Like, you really,
Like, I mean, I could make assumptions. I could guess at things. I could get,
Mhm.
guess at, fears of, you know, and or wanting to have celebrations of Black love. Of course, I don't, I
Yes.
don't want to do that. I don't want to sit here and assume to understand what the root of some of those, what that undercurrent is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think, I don't think that would be fair.
No, absolutely not. True. So it's interesting. I want to bring this topic up because we're like, you're in Toronto, I'm in Mississauga, we're in Canada. So this is something that happened in Virginia that Supreme Court had to kind of interrupt to ensure that the states couldn't impose interracial marriage laws anywhere in the state. So that's 55 years ago. So it's not like that was that long ago. Um, and then there's a sense of sitting in privilege is the wrong word, but we have the luxury of not having to actually think about it other than our lived experience, like we just talked about. But there's nothing like from a legal perspective prohibiting that. So there's a moment of celebration for me when I can go through my day, read it on Twitter, and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in an interracial relationship too," and that is not a thing from a legal ramification perspective.
And I guess that's why I brought up at the beginning, that my parents have been married for just over 40 years now. I think I saw my dad in here, so sorry for aging you. But it just 40 years ago, it was a thing for them getting married.
Mm-hmm.
I've been married for, a couple to 15 years. And again, in my husband's family, that I'm you know, ours is the first interracial marriage. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend as though that there weren't initial challenges in that
Mm-hmm.
as well, right?
Right.
That there don't continue to be some challenges in that. So it's not, although it's on an issue of it being legal, or illegal, there are still cultural expectations, I think, that that families will have.
Yes.
Sometimes a family might say, they hope to see their child marry someone of the same culture group, so that the
Mm-hmm.
language
The legacy. Yeah, the legacy.
the legacy of their cultural traditions remains. And I absolutely understand that as part of what maybe some parents are hoping for.
Right. Reading Sam Cortrainer's comments. Me too. I'm the lone black person in my husband's Chinese family, and we have never made, and they never made me think I was different.
Hmm.
Isn't that an interesting comment about thinking you're different? Like, remember, like Guess Who's Coming for Dinner, right? The Sidney Poitier movie, and the innocence of the female and bringing home.
Okay,
Uh,
never. Sorry. So you're gonna have
sorry,
to hear.
sorry, Sid?
I never saw the movie.
Okay, and that's fine. And I'm not gonna be like, "What? You never seen it?" Because I watched it just recently, so I'm not gonna pretend like I'm all high and mighty and have known this movie since the '70s. But Sidney Poitier in this movie, it was very groundbreaking because it was this a white girl who had met this black man who was a doctor, very established, and Poitier wrote the whole movie in a way where he gave this "what would you do if" scenario, and you have this like educated, accomplished black man who comes home to this rich white girl's family, and the family is struggling with them getting married, and not because they hate the guy, but because they understand the climate that they live in, and they know it's going to be difficult for them as a couple.
Hmm.
So they didn't hate on the gentleman. They were concerned about their social environment and were really concerned for the couple because they're not ready to handle what's going to happen to them, much like what you explained about what your parents went through or what you go through. Like they're just adding another layer of difficulty to their world when marriage is hard enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I get an amen to that? And then you're going to layer in race in that time, right? So the movie was really well done for that perspective of making you think, okay, what would you do? And you almost live it through the eyes of these white parents, and then the black parents of this man are in town, and then they come to dinner as well. So then both families are there, and then the parents are having this conversation about what should we do. And one parent is like, love is love, let them go. Another one's like, you don't understand it. Like the father is like, daughter, you're gonna have a tough time in this world. And the father is like, son, you're setting yourself up for trouble, like sort of thing. So like you have two parents who
Hold up 1 second. There, it's like the thing that's going through my head is that in a way, the father saying that he's not ready to accept,
yes,
and that he's not ready to make the change, and to accept that love is love, and love has no color. You know, that to me says more about the family not being willing to walk that tough, what they think is going to be a tough road with this couple.
yes, and that's exactly it. And I got caught up in the emotions of the two fathers. The fathers are having this heart to heart because they're looking out for the best interests of their child, but they're also seeing it through the lens of their lived experience. How hard it's been for them, and they don't want we never want our kids to go through hardship, so they're trying to save their kid the grief that they've gone through, and marriage is going to make it difficult, right? So it's like it's just a really interesting layers that they put into this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there about assuming people and that the world isn't going to change, and that the world is going to accept,
Right.
and almost this why bother, because
Right.
the world is going to accept you. And I mean, obviously things in race relations in Canada and the US are much different as well. So but I think, what I've seen in my own family is, as I think Sam has said, her family, her husband's family is fully accepted her. My husband's family has fully accepted me. They call me cousin. They call me. They consider me fully part of the family. And so, as much as ours was the first interracial marriage, I don't feel as though I'm reminded of that. Every time we're in a room together. Obviously. I can see it. I can see that I am the only, Black person in the room. I'm also the tallest often, actually. That's sort of the funny thing is his family is four. They're all like the aunts and the nonnas are all like 4'8", 4'9", and me at 5'6" is considered tall.
Yes.
But that's a whole other thing. But no, it's been nothing but a positive experience for us. Some may have thought initially it's going to be hard for you. It's going to be a challenge for you to be part of this family. Well, of course, people change. People are open-minded. People can see love when it's there.
I think that really does triumph, right? As cheesy as that sounds, I think that people really do see that, and that should be the thing that should get you through. And it's interesting. One of my clients is a British couple, and they've been married. I don't know how long Fitz has been married for, but like a black and white couple for England, and just them talking about like England's a whole different like beast when it comes to like race relations in that era and today still, right? So yeah, there's lots to be there's lots to, so watch that movie. I'd be fun. Yeah, definitely watch it and just look at how it's so well written, and it presents such a great challenge to that concept, because it's not just like I hate black people, don't bring them in here. It's like I love you so much, I don't want you to go through the world of hurt that we have. And so and then you have these parents that are all going through looking at it from different perspectives. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I know that you got to jump off, but I appreciate how eloquently you paint the picture every time you come on here. You're such a good speaker.
Oh, thanks for having me on always. Okay,
Always, Kara. Thanks so much.
bye.
Jean-Claude Nelson, how are you, sir? Stefan, what's going on? Hi, Patricia. So, yeah, Kara did such a good job of that. Like, I don't think I need to beat that down anymore, but just to say that I'm just celebrating that. They're in such a different era, but there are so many things that are still within our families that we have to combat, um, and it's good, really good stuff. So that's why I put this post up today. Kind of fond of her. All right, next topic. Someone's gonna jump into this and see interracial marriage later in the live and not know what we're talking about. But I'm gonna talk about my colleague, friend, and past guest here, Scott Miller, who was on Friday. Scott, do I have it here? This guy, aka Augie Doggy. I forgot to ask why he calls his handle Augie Doggy, but he is in Seattle. 65-year-old and still getting better. He is on the uptick when it comes to health and fitness and wellness and vision and mobility and all that stuff. He's legit. Such a great conversation that we had. If you get a chance to watch that from Friday, I'm gonna make it one of our podcasts real quick because we talked about so many things, and I was just hanging on some of the words he said because they're just fun things that just resonate with me. And you can see in the conversation, it was so chill because he said things like this: "At this age, I'm going to start and fill in the blank." He's 65 years old, and now he just picked up tennis. He's picking up other sports. He's doing new things, and he attributes that to his Pilates. This is something that keeps him mobile, keeps him agile, keeps him strong. So it's like the Pilates itself is allowing him to do other things in life, which is a practical application of everything that Pilates is about. And if you read any of Joseph Pilates' books, that's one of the centering principles, is that this Pilates thing is to help you to get better at life for ease of movement. We're not in it to become professional Pilates athletes. Is there a thing? I'm going to Google it. I bet you there is a Pilates league somewhere, or Pilates Olympics, or something along those lines. But that's not the point. The point is that you're supposed to use this to be better at something else, and that's exactly what he's doing. So I thought that was cool. And my question for you all is: have you picked up a new sport recently? Have you put your Pilates into action in something new? Yes or no? Rate your sport. Give me a thumbs up. What have you done with your Pilates? Just a question. Jessica, a long time. I have so many things going on right now, but I want to get back into squash. It'd be interesting to see how my game has dropped off, um, or how little it's dropped off with squash. So that'll be my thing. I'm gonna pick that up in the next couple of weeks. Got to get a new racket and stuff. But skating, okay, Patricia. Yes, appreciate your body more in general. Absolutely. So Patricia, is that roller skating, ice skating? Where I don't know where you are in the world and what's accessible to you, but Planner. Yes. So yeah, so this guy is boxing, swimming, tennis. I want to pick up pickleball as well. That's the other thing that's on my agenda. So what's up next for you? Like what sports? I'm like I was joking about the fact I want to pick up like tennis at 50, at 60. I want to do like sprinting at 80. You know what I mean? I want to do some of these things and just like, start beating people up and just use that athleticism. So got to keep that Pilates going. One of the other things that he was talking about was how we get to this point with our clients where they start to plan their life around our workouts. And we're celebrating that. And I think it was a fun moment. How many of you have clients that really build their whole life around your 1, 2, or 3 sessions a week? Show of hands. Like they're the person that has a morning session with you and then they cut their evening plans and they make sure that they have a salad instead of a burger, and then they go to bed early because they want to bring it for their Pilates session. They want to be ready they want to be available for their workout. That sort of person. How many of you have that person? We were saying also that there's the classes and even someone was saying in the chat too, like they have people who show up on Saturday morning hungover anyway, like they're not using any excuses. Like I love the no excuse people. It's almost like you have two types of clients, right? Like you have your no excuse people and you have your I'm gonna bring it people, like the I'm gonna plan my life around the workout, or I'm gonna come in spite of my life kind of people, and both are fun people to work with, because they all want to be better, right? So we were spent some time talking about that and how Pilates changes people, how fitness changes them, and people sometimes come from that place of being reluctant and this is just what they do, and then something starts to click and they start to see some results, so they feel better in their job, and then they have this buy-in, and the buy-in dictates how important this is to the rest of the world. So your 2 hours a day are the most 2 hours a week are the most important 2 hours, excuse me, for them, and then that's how they kind of gauge the rest of their life on, can they get some gains this week, can they get some improvement in their roll up or whatever exercise they're working on, and we build them so that they can just grow quality wise in their movement. I think that's a pretty cool thing. I love when people when something clicks and then have that aha moment, you know? So thank you for your comments earlier, Sandcore Trainer and Nicole earlier. Cool. There's this thing about the upward trajectory. And when Scott was talking on Friday, sorry, let me read this comment here. I think Pilates, there's a comment here from Steph, I can read. I think Pilates and working out helps with managing your life and other areas as well. I use that analogy with my son. Like, for him, basketball, I say the way you do basketball is the way you do life. And I think in our Pilates world, the way you do Pilates is the way you do life. So, yeah, Steph, I agree with that comment 100%. Managing your life and other areas to managing your life and those other areas are so key, right? So as we get into the routine and the habit of exercise, then everything falls in place. Empowered fit chick, what's going on? So it's the way that you start to do that training and incorporating your movement into it. That I love it when that starts to overtake people's lives. And sometimes people come in as their court ordered exercises, right? Like the doctor comes in and says, like, you're 53, you're gonna die at 54 like your dad if you don't start exercising. They begrudgingly come in to work out, and then they like it, and then they feel better, and they touch their toes for the first time, and then they have more energy when they're working in their yard, or their husband or wife notices that their posture looks better, or their friends start to give them compliments, and then they're all of a sudden hooked, right? That whole thing is amazing. And so once it gets to that place where they start to figure out that this is something that is actually going to benefit them, they get that ownership. They start to plan their whole world around the time we have together. They're challenged to do stuff on their own. That's great. Like I find like I personally chase after those moments with my people where they can get to that place of wanting it more than I want it for them. How many of you have been in that situation as a trainer where you just want this stuff for your clients so badly, and they're just like, I get it. No, I didn't practice anything. I used to play guitar. Correction. I used to take guitar lessons. And when I was taking guitar lessons, I felt like I should just cancel my lesson if I'm down to like the day before the lesson and I haven't practiced anything they gave me last lesson. It was like I was wasting this guy's time because I'm going into the lesson and I haven't done anything since the last lesson. So I'm literally at the exact same spot as I was last week when I'm just trying to get better at this instrument. So if I put in the work throughout the week, then I'm proud when I walk into the lesson. I'm ready for him to ask. Like I'm ready for him to ask me to play some scale because I've been doing this scale like 10 times this week. I'm good to go. If I haven't done anything, then I'm almost embarrassed when he asks for that scale. And I know that it's going to sound just as janky as it did the week before. And that was my lesson in sympathy for my clients when we do something and then send them on their way. They come back next week and they're at exactly the same spot as they were the week before. That gave me sympathy for that. And I've started to give them like even less homework or like different things. You start to change your strategy to get them engaged between the weeks so they can get that sense of ownership. Latifa, how are you doing? With some new people in the space, I don't always do this, but sometimes I go back to the last topic if you came in just to see interracial marriage as we're talking about that, but maybe I won't. How many of you identify with that, like that guitar analogy? Because like there's that sense of investment and homework and getting people to do something between classes. Is that Joachim and Balance? I think so. Yes. Latifa, you haven't been on in a while. Would you like to join me? Come on screen for a second. I'd love to hear what you're up to with your travel and your yoga and your movement and your coaching and all the things that you do. Now that we're out of our lockdown, when I had you on, we were pretty stamped down as a people in terms of being able to move and work with and do our thing. So I'd love to hear what you're up to right now. If today doesn't work, let's definitely plan a time for you to join me once again. Hi, Carolyn. Okay, let me get Tifa on.
Uh-oh, wait. Gotta flip it.
You have a nice space, by the way.
Thank God it's clean.
I know. That's Boy.
That's so funny. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good
Good.
to see you. I saw you on someone else's live just recently too.
Yes. I feel
Who?
like I was on Misty's, but that I was on someone else's.
Yeah, I saw.
Uh,
Maybe it was Misty's. I saw you on.
yeah, and I just finished up another one with Adalia. I will not butcher her last name.
Okay.
But we talked about living life on your own terms.
Mm, lovely.
Yeah. It ain't as easy as it sounds, but it's quite rewarding.
And I'm sure you could speak for days on that topic too, just because
Yeah.
you just encourage people with that stuff all the time.
Try to. I definitely try to.
Yeah.
I'm actually back. You're in Canada, right?
Yes.
So I'm officially back under you. I'm back in the United States, but I've been in Mexico.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I moved to Mexico.
What? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, still part of NAFTA, so to speak, but
Yeah.
yeah, I moved to Mexico.
So now so what are you doing back in New York then?
Um, I I have a couple of retreats and events, so it just made sense to stay here for the summer. So I'm back for the summer.
Hmm.
Um, and I have a retreat to Tanzania, and I'm going to uh, Martha's Vineyard, and I have some events coming up. I have this really great event, actually. It's called the Day of Grounding.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a very root chakra kind
Yeah.
of thing, but we are going to a farm
Okay.
to do yoga and meditation and just dig deep into the earth. Time to
Wow.
get outside.
Yeah. So when, yeah,
Yeah.
like this is your time to plug that. So when is that happening? How do people find out more about that?
Oh, that is June 25th.
Hmm.
Um, there's transportation involved, so you don't have to worry about anything. All you do is just get on the bus,
Okay.
and I take care of everything. You have yoga, meditation. I call it the gardening experience. You can put your hands in the earth.
Wow. Nice.
We have, yeah, reflection, fresh farm to table meal.
Hmm.
You get to pick some of the stuff that you eat. You get a goodie bag with um, some fresh vegetables from the farm that we're going to.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've hung out at this farm a couple of times, and it was just fun. So if people want to go, we leave from Teaneck, New Jersey,
Hmm.
but it will be we take a bus up to Montgomery, New York,
Okay.
and you can go onto my website, empowerfitwellness.com.
Good. Can you type that in the comment section for me, please?
Certainly
And
can.
the part of the reason everyone while she's doing it, the reason why I appreciate that is because that is so far from my skill set to organize
Ah,
to organize something like that, to gather people around that. Because I mean, I can stay here all day. Like, yeah, people need that. You need to unplug. You need to connect with yourself. Wah 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 wah. And you're making that happen. Like, I mean, I do that in different ways. Like, I'm giving people
right,
an hour to themselves. Where like, are you here? Okay, good. Let's move. That's a treat. But
right.
you're doing it in your way, and
Hmm.
that's
And
so
as
such.
long as we know there's so many different ways to do that, though, that's the thing.
Mhm.
So, however you do it, it's such a good way for other people to get their connection to themselves.
Yes.
Because you can't connect with anyone else until you find that connection for yourself. So,
Yep.
that one on one is still very, very important, I feel.
Yes. Oh, 100%. 100%. I
Yeah,
think we talked about that last time too. Like, and I've said this in the past, that sense of like, when I'm in a down place, I don't ask people, how are you doing, in case they reciprocate, right? Like,
right.
someone has to, like, I don't want someone to ask me, oh, I'm fine, how are you? And I'm like, I don't want to actually answer,
Uh,
because I'm
yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? So if I'm not in a place of taking care of myself, then I can't take care of others. And that starts with that. So the fact that you're
absolutely.
holding space for people and creating space for people to hold space for themselves is so important. Um,
Thank you. I feel that.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it
doing.
really is. That's our job, though, you know?
Hmm.
It's an interesting job that we all have. However, we do that, just holding space for folks.
Right.
And I always try to make sure with instructors, I help them hold space for themselves. Like I will become that space holder. As instructors, we need to make sure we do that for each other because it's a lot to hold space. Because like you said, what if you're not doing so great and you don't want to ask that question, how are you? So that they can ask right back and you're like, I don't want to do this. But we have to make sure that we are there to hold space for each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Tanzania, what's going on with that?
Oh, that's one of my yoga, dance, and culture retreats. We're out there for 9 days, 10 days. And we are doing Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar, Kilimanjaro. We're not going all the way to the top. We're only going to first base camp
Okay.
because that's a killer to go to first base camp. I did it last year. I was probably sore for about 24 months. No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My ass was numb. I mean, it was just ridiculous, but it's such a sense of wow, I can't
Yeah.
believe I did that. So now I'm bringing five more people to do it with me.
Not selling.
I know. You're like, okay, skipping that one.
Yeah.
But we're going to be doing a little bit of everything. We've got safaris and oh goodness, we're doing an overnight safari.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we go and we're hanging out at the Maasai village. A lot of people know the Maasai, but they don't know the Maasai. Like, have you ever seen footage of? There's a tribal group throughout Eastern Africa, but they jump really high. Have you ever seen that footage?
I have, yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go hang out with the Maasai in a village, and then we go and have our overnight safari and get to see the giraffes, the elephants, the wildebeest, all those good things, the lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, well, maybe not any bears. And just going to see, just going out there, and it's right on the East African coast.
Okay.
So it's the Indian Ocean. It's all that beautiful, crystal clear water. It's stunning. And we're also going to Seychelles. So it's Tanzania and Seychelles.
Okay.
And Seychelles is like one of those places no one ever really goes to unless they actually know that, and then it becomes on their bucket list.
Yes.
So we're just going out there to hang out. So that's what I've got. That's at the end of June.
Wow.
So there's a few things. Yeah, that's its own thing. So
Good for
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. But the main thing, you know what's so cool? Okay, this is what I'm going to talk about. I have a book coming out. I already have a book. It's
okay.
Yeah, I already have a book. It's a yoga book, and I'm doing the second edition, and that'll come out later. But I have this book coming out that's based on a live series I did last year. So I did a 3-day live series on Facebook.
Okay.
And I put something together. It's called the Me Talks, not a detox. It's the Me Talks.
Okay.
So it's shifting your mindset. And it's shifting the mindset to move you toward a healthier life. Yeah. I'm not telling you to lose weight. I'm not telling you to be better. And I'm giving you some tools so that you can shift your mindset to find a life that's healthier for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And it looks like so many different things, but I have it so that people can get it together for themselves. That's the point of it, hopefully.
Latifa, I have to say, you're the second person I've had on just recently who I had on during the lockdowns and all those different things. And you are speaking with a different voice right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just so alive, and you were alive last time. I was just so hyped off our conversation last time, but you sound so alive being able to give your gifts and talents expression in this way right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see it. I'd love to watch. It'd be fun to go back and watch. I'll send you our replay and just see where you're at
Oh,
then,
yeah, that would be cool.
and just
Yeah.
accelerate. Because and most people who are watching in the chat now probably didn't watch our first one, but I'm hearing you talk, and like at that point you were talking like, this is what I do, and this is what I used to do, and this is what I hope to do, and now this is like, this is what we're doing.
This is it.
This is,
Yes.
you know what I'm
It's
saying?
very definitive now.
It's
Yeah.
so definitive.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, because now we feel that things are actually possible.
Right.
We're not wishing. Like, I think we're back in the space where we feel things can happen. However they happen, we feel things can happen now. Yeah.
And you were positive before, and you were carrying that positivity, but like there's something when like you are like your feet are like squared up, like you are in it right now.
Wow, you're making me very aware. Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's a
saying?
good thing.
It's like, it's not like
Yeah,
this,
that's a good thing.
because you were positive before, like there wasn't a what was me before, like you were talking about like all the awesome stuff you did and all the awesome stuff that's coming. So like there's like,
Right.
I used to do this, and we're on a hold, and I'm doing, and these are things that are coming up, but right now you're like, right, like you're in that pocket, like you're right in that, like
Right.
that puncher's pocket, right, like that spot where like you're not,
Yeah.
that's what I'm feeling right now, like you are right in it, and you're speaking from like living it out.
Thank you. I am.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling that. Yeah. You know what? You just gave definition.
Yeah.
You just gave definition to it. You just molded that for me. Because, yeah, before it was like I had to force myself, like, you got to stay positive. Gotta stay positive. We can't stay in this mindset. And now it's like, okay, I'm positive.
Yes.
Things are happening.
Yep.
Yeah. That's it.
Love it.
Wow, you caught that one.
Love it.
You're so good.
Thank you. Because I mean, like, because it wasn't a fake it till you make it. Like you were positive, like inside, on the inside. That was genuine. It wasn't like you were
Absolutely.
it was genuine, but it's like it's just for lack of a better word, it's just so alive right now.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, it was a matter of survival before.
Yep.
And now it's just living.
Yep.
Now it's living, but yeah, survival. I had to stay positive because I had no idea where things were going last year.
Yeah.
I mean, we really ever truly know where things are going?
Right.
But last year was like, oh, what's happening? I don't even know what's about to happen. Like nobody knew it was going to happen. So yeah, there's definitely a shift. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very astute. Yeah. Very observant.
You're wearing it.
Yeah. Very observant.
Yeah. You are definitely wearing
Yeah.
it. Wow. So for those who are tuning in, as we were talking about interracial marriage, and we touched that like really, really early, and Kara just came on. It was an interesting conversation, but I'd love just for your perspective on that. Because, with loving.
You know what's so interesting? Yeah, I didn't even know it was a day. And you're right, only in the U.S. Only in the U.S. well, maybe not only, but like we have to give permission to love and be married. Like it just like, okay, now you have permission to love the person you want to fall in love with. I think it's so interesting that there are regulations on love.
Right.
And it's interesting that loving that decision was not that long ago.
55 years ago, people.
It wasn't long ago at all. Like, I mean, I look at it, I'm like, wow, I'm 51. This is crazy that only 4 years before I was born, people were no longer going to be jailed or strung up or anything like that, or killed, or their homes were destroyed because of who they loved. Insane. It's insane. The regulation on love, and I have to put it that way because I really feel that's what it is, has some really drastic roots in the United States, I'd say. Absolutely. Like if you were a black family, you weren't allowed to be a black family because you were enslaved and they didn't consider you a family. So they could sell your kids off and nobody cared. If you were a black man who was in love with a white woman or vice versa, however, you could be killed. And if you were a black man, you could be killed. And if you were a white woman, you would be killed also, unless you denied it. And then the black man would be killed. Like how? And then we had to finally regulate. Do you know their story? Like the Lovings? Did you?
They were in
Yeah.
prisons. Yeah.
What? And they didn't even do anything to anybody. Like they were legit off to the side by themselves. We're not bothering anybody. And they were jailed a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you even think of Trevor Noah
Yes.
and his family.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Like that. Yeah. Like
his mother had to pretend to be the maid or the nanny.
yes.
I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. It just seemed, yeah, I guess it's the way I was raised. I just don't get it. It just seems pretty stupid to me.
Right, exactly. And no, it is, and I think that's why I'm bringing it up living in Canada, where it really, like as Kara articulated, like her parents being interracial, what they experienced culturally, and for her being in marriage, and all these different things. Like there's some applications and ways that that's lived in our experience in this culture, but still that. I take it for granted. Like I was saying, like I just stumbled across that on Twitter this morning, and my wife being white, like I don't think about that in my day to day and my interactions. And so there's a privilege that I have of being able to just navigate this world that I actually want to give pause to and just say how grateful I am for people like that, the Lovings that had to go through that, and people that had to advocate for them, and for those who stood in the gap for them all the way through till that went to the Supreme Court. Like, I mean, that's not a light thing. That's a lot of struggle and heartache someone did somewhere in the world to set a precedent for the rest of the world.
Right. Right. And people have to understand the how powerful it is that it went through to the Supreme Court. It takes a lot to get an argument argued in front of a case argued in front of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
The highest court in the land. It takes a lot.
Yes.
So if people can understand just the process that it takes for that to happen,
right,
I think they would understand the breadth of what's going on.
Well said. It's 11 o'clock, and I didn't even realize that, and I have to jump on.
Oh, and I gotta go.
Right. But thank you so much.
I gotta go.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you. Let's find another time to just chat and just to continue to just unpack all the stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.